Hi there, everyone. Thank you for joining me tonight. My name is Sarah Hunstead. I am a paediatric nurse, mum of two, and founder of CPR Kids. And at CPR Kids, we empower parents and families with the life-saving skills of baby and child first aid and recognition of the sick child. And I am so excited to be talking to you tonight about first aid for choking, because this is something that every parent and carer needs to know. So what we're going to do, we're going to talk a little bit about prevention of choking. We're then going to talk about recognition of choking and then what to do. We are going to go through what to do on the babies. I'm going to demonstrate. So if you have a pillow or a stuffed toy or something like that at home, I want you to go and grab it now, then come back and sit down because I want you to practice along with me tonight. Okay. So first of all, what I would love, just to make sure the technology is working as it should be, can you just give me a thumbs up or a wave or comment down below just to make sure that all is good? And please tag anyone in the comments below who needs to watch this too. We will be posting this to our page afterwards so that you can watch it at any time if you can't tune in now, because you may still have little ones who are awake and you need to go and tend to them. So this will be up on the CPR Kids Facebook page and our YouTube channel as well. Okay, we're getting lots of thumbs up, so everything must be going well at the moment. So let's talk about prevention. So first of all, let's talk about food and little objects. Basically, anything that can pass through a toilet paper tube, a child can choke on. Okay, so that's pretty much everything in your house. It's everything from little pieces of Lego to, thinking clips and hair bows, just all of those tiny little things that perhaps older siblings might leave around. If you're at a house that doesn't have little kids around, they just love to put everything in their mouth, and that is developmentally normal. It is absolutely fine for them to do that. We just don't want them to choke on the objects. So keeping those little things out of reach is really important, particularly the button batteries. Okay, so button batteries or lithium-ion batteries, if a child ingests or inserts into their nose or ear, one of those, within 2 hours, it can cause life-threatening damage because of the charge that happens when the lithium-ion battery comes in contact with the saliva. That is a medical emergency. So if you suspect that your child has choked on or has swallowed a button battery, immediately call Poisons Information on 13 11 26. They will guide you what to do, unless your child is having difficulty breathing, they're actively choking, or they've got a reduced level of consciousness. Then you must call an ambulance immediately. Okay, but if they're breathing fine, everything's good, but you suspect or know that they've swallowed a button battery, then you're calling Poisons Info on 13 11 26. Okay. So we've talked a bit about little objects. What about foods? First of all, gagging is completely normal, okay? Gagging is just developmentally appropriate. It's one of the body's protective mechanisms. It is a good thing. And if you've got a little kid who you've just introduced solids to, you know that they just kind of do that whole, they go a bit red, they might get a little bit watery, they do that whole thing, and then they bring it up, they might spit it out, they might have a little vom, they just pick it up again, they shove it in their mouth. Disgusting, but normal, okay? Choking is different. Choking, you will see that they will be distressed when it happens, okay? So choking is different. Choking is a complete or partial obstruction of the airway, and I'll get into that a little bit more, but let's first talk about those foods. So the sorts of foods that we want to avoid. First of all, the round-shaped foods such as grapes, cherry tomatoes, those really massive blueberries, we want to chop them into quarters because that shape is perfect size to lodge in a little child's airway, okay? So we want to chop them into quarters. Thinking about things like sausages or carrots or zucchini, often we want to chop them into those little circles. What is a better idea is if you chop them into long sticks so that they can hold them, they can gnaw, and then they can, break that apart, and it's not that perfect circle. So thinking about those sorts of things, chop up the foods. You can't feed them puree until they're 20. You do need to give them solid foods. It's really, really important, but make sure that you're chopping them into appropriate size pieces. And thinking about the types of foods as well. Don't give them whole nuts, okay? Save the whole nuts until they're primary school age, okay? Popcorn under 3s is really quite dangerous. I have seen kids who've aspirated popcorn, who've choked on popcorn, those hard little kernels in there. So it's really important that we do avoid the popcorn under 3s. Hard lollies, for example, the hard-boiled sweets. Marshmallows, the big ones, the ones that comes with the little baby chinos. They are the perfect size and stickiness to actually choke on. And one of our educators here at CPR Kids, her son choked on a marshmallow. She had to give him back blows, which I'll get into, because he just nabbed that straight off. Basically the waitress put down the little cup with the baby chino froth in it and a little marshmallow on the side. Before she could take it and pull apart little bits to give to him, he immediately nabbed it, shoved it in his mouth, and as she was going, come on, spit it out, it was all wet, sticky, lodged in his airway. She had to give him back blows to be able to get that out. So just be cautious about these things. And what I'd love, everybody, while you're watching, what are some of the foods that you know to avoid? Type them in the comments below. What do you do with the grapes? Do you chop them up into quarters? Do you just squish them? So tell me in the comments below what you know that we all need to be aware of. So we've talked about the food, we've talked about the little objects, okay? Another thing that we need to do is try and get our toddlers to sit down to eat. Easy when they're a baby, very, very easy when they're a baby, because you're there, strapped into the high chair. But later on when they're a bit bigger, often they'll want to walk around to eat. And what we don't want is them running around with objects in their mouth or with food, because if they stumble, then over they go, they inhale that, it's a problem, it's a choking risk. So get your child to sit down to eat. Good luck if you have toddlers, but it's a really important thing to do. Now, what next? The other thing is we need to keep them in our sights, okay? So keeping them in our sights is we need to watch our children when they're eating, because choking can be silent, okay? It absolutely can be silent. And so that's why it's really important. It might be tempting to just, run off and have a shower, just quickly go to the loo while they're having their little bits of Vegemite toast in the morning or whatever they're having. But it really is important to keep them in your sights, because choking can be silent. So watch them while they're eating. It's a good opportunity for you to stop and sit down too and have those meal times together. Okay, so we've talked a bit about prevention. Next, I want to talk about recognition. Okay, so we're going to talk about what to do if your child has a strong effective cough, or if they don't have any air going in or out, or very little air, or if they're unconscious. So what we need to do is, how do we recognize if a child's choking? First of all, trust me, they're going to look scared. And you may not recognize it at first. I had a little girl who actually choked. She wasn't my child, but she actually choked in my kitchen. She grabbed a piece of orange segment and she put it in her mouth and she was chewing it. And half of it went down and the other half actually lodged right, blocking her airway. And I looked at her and she was kind of doing this. She was just a bit like, and I thought, that's a bit odd. What's she doing? And then I looked a little bit closer. Then all of a sudden her eyes went wide and she just went like this and went, oh God, she's choking. Ran over to her, did what I needed to do. One back blow, orange came out. All was good. But you really recognized at first. I thought, it's a little bit odd. What's going on here? And then I really understood what was happening just by watching her for a second. She wasn't gagging. She was genuinely choking. And you could tell she had this look of fear in her eyes. And she must have been 3 at the most. But you could really, really see it. And that's why often you'll just wait a little bit, give them a chance to clear it. They're not clearing it. There's no air coming in or out. Or they don't have that strong cough. We're going to intervene. But what happens if they have a nice, strong, effective cough. So I'm going to tell you a story. And anybody who's watched any of my choking laughs before, you know this story. You could probably write it in the comments below yourself if you've watched this a few times. But I just love how it actually illustrates so perfectly what a good, effective cough is. So my youngest daughter, when she was little, she choked on a rice cracker. It was lodged in her mouth. I looked at her. What I wanted to do was whack her on the back, but she was doing this. She had this beautiful big cough in and out. I looked in her mouth and I could see the cracker right there. If I had stuck my fingers in her mouth and kind of gotten that around and tried to pull that out, I could have pushed it further down. So I didn't do that. If I had have whacked her on the back, so if I had have actually come along and whacked her on the back like that, while she's taking that nice big breath in, I could have potentially dislodged that cracker and she could have inhaled it in further, blocking her airway. So that's why if somebody has a strong, effective cough, we simply encourage them to keep coughing. So what I did, and I'm just going to grab my my other mannequin here because she was a toddler at the time, and so it's better if I demonstrate. Oh, here we go, on my guy here rather than the baby. So what I did was I just rubbed her back. It does nothing. It simply made me feel better, like I was doing something. Okay, so it's okay, keep coughing, it's all right. And so showing her what to do. 3 big coughs later, cracker came flying out. She's in tears, I'm in tears. And for a long time, she did not eat that particular bag of crackers because it was the cracker's fault. So that's what we do if they have a good, strong, effective cough. Now, what do we do if they don't have that strong, effective cough? If, for example, they are silent, or the super duper scary, that is the super duper scary one, or they have an ineffective cough. That's not a lung full of air in or out. We need to intervene. So we are going to do back blows and chest thrusts. And what I'm talking about today is the Australian Resuscitation Council guidelines. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to demonstrate on the baby first, I think. Okay, so we're going to take them out of the high chair or whatever it is they're in. Okay, so if somebody is with you, call them, get them to call an ambulance. Okay, and certainly if after you do your first 5 back blows, if you are by yourself, then you need an ambulance coming as well. That's really, really important. Okay, so what you're going to do, pull them out of the high chair, whatever it is they're in. We are going to, if the object is directly at the front of their mouth, so for example, they've got a piece of meat hanging out here and we can easily grab it and do so by all means, okay? But we are not doing big finger sweeps to try and get that out because we can push whatever it is further down. We are then going to put them over our legs, okay? So I'm going to put that down there so you can see. So over our legs, we've got some gravity helping us, so the bottom is higher with the head. And I'm actually holding her by the shoulder because we don't want to drop her, okay? And remember, she's conscious, okay? She is conscious. She is awake. Between the shoulder blades, with the heel of our hand, we are going to give up to 5 back blows, okay? You ready? 1, check. 2, check. 3, check. 4, check. 5, check. If it hasn't come out after those 5 back blows, and remember, if it comes out of the first blow, you do not have to give all 5. We're going to turn over. Once again, bit of gravity helping us, holding bub very securely so we don't drop them. This time we're going to do chest thrusts. So the middle of the chest on that hard breastbone, same place that you do CPR. In a small baby, we're going to use 2 fingers. In a bigger baby or a child, we're going to use the heel of our hand. And we are going to give up to 5 chest thrusts. Okay, so here we go. 1, check. 2, check. 3, check. 4, whoops, check. 5, check. So you notice that is a short, sharp thrust. And on this baby here, I'm having a little bit of difficulty using my fingers. I'd probably be better off using the heel of my hand to do a short, sharp thrust. So remembering that this is on the hard breastbone, it is not on the tummy. We don't do the Heimlich maneuver or abdominal thrusts in babies, okay? We do not do it. It can damage their internal organs. What we really want to do is the chest thrusts. So after 5 chest thrusts, if it still hasn't come out, we're going to go back into our back blows, okay? Back into our back blows, and 1, check. 2, check. 3, check. 4, check. 5, check. And you'll notice that it's not a pat down on the back, that it is a forceful blow, because the aim of what we want to do is actually force the air out of the lungs to pop that object out. So we're forcing that air out of the lungs, okay? So we keep going, 5, 5, 5, 5, until either the object comes out or they become unconscious. And if they become unconscious, we are doing doctor's ABCD, okay? So we are starting CPR. And if you don't know how to do CPR, I want you to enroll in a course, whether it's with CPR Kids or another provider. Just do it. Just, it's one of those things you will never, ever regret the 3 hours you spend doing a pediatric first aid course. Trust me, you won't. So I hope you practiced along with me with your pillow there. And so let's do a recap now, okay? So let's do a recap. First of all, number 1, if your child has a strong, effective cough, encourage them to keep coughing, okay? Hopefully they'll clear it, but you're going to watch very, very carefully, okay? If your child has an ineffective cough or they are silent, then what you need to do is back blows and chest thrusts. You are going to do, and if you've got your pillow or your toy with you, practice along with me now, okay? Up to 5 back blows. 1, check. 2, check. 3, check. 4, check. 5, check. If that hasn't worked, we're rolling them over and we are going into our chest thrusts. Remember, 2 fingers for a small baby. You may need the heel of your hand on that breastbone, not on the tummy. 1, check. 2, check. 3, check. 4, check. 5, check. That hasn't worked. You go back into your back blows and so on. Okay. And remember, there's somebody with you. You are getting them to call an ambulance. If you're by yourself after those first 5 back blows, if that hasn't come out, then you make sure that you are getting an ambulance coming. Really, really important. Okay. And remember, if your child becomes unconscious, then most importantly, you're going through doctor's ABCD, okay? You need to start CPR, really, really important, and make sure that help is on the way. We also talked about prevention and recognition too, but let me show you just quickly, if you have an older child, don't pick your child up like that either, what we're going to do. So first of all, if your child is small enough to lay them across your lap, do so. So I could probably just do that with my 11-year-old. I could probably, bend her over. Her feet would still obviously be on the ground. But she's probably getting a little bit too tall for me to do that now. My 13-year-old, no way would I be able to lay her across my lap. So what I would need to do is, if your child, my 11-year-old, I would probably kneel down on the floor. I would have her leaning forward, bracing her with my arm, and do those back blows. Remember, that isn't doing anything, okay? Those pats don't work, okay? Make sure it's that hard. We want to force that air out of the lungs behind that object to pop it out, okay? So back blows up to 5 like that. And for our chest thrusts, what we can do is we can get them to lean against a wall so that they're against the wall. You can also get an adult or a tall child to lean against a wall with their arms like that. So imagine my arm is the wall, and we can do our back blows like this as well. Otherwise, we can also get them to sit in a chair. Remove the pillow because we don't want that softness behind them, so the hard back of the chair, and you can do your chest thrusts, remember, on the chest, not the tummy, like this. So your short, sharp chest thrusts. Okay, so a lot of people say that you can actually lay them down on the floor to do the chest thrusts. Can you imagine somebody trying to lay you down on the floor when you are choking and you can't breathe? Like, that would be awful. So it's highly unlikely that you're going to be able to get somebody to lay down. It is much more likely that you'll be able to get them to lean against a wall or to lean against in a chair, and you can do your chest thrusts that way. Okay, so I really hope that has been useful. Does anybody have any questions? I'd love you to just type them in the comments below now while we are live, and I will hopefully be able to answer them. So Joe has said that when we were talking before about different foods, so Joe's talking about uncooked apple. So 8-month-old having a bite from the apple, I imagine, they're so curious about what we're eating, which is a great thing. Went bright red and quiet, one back blow and dislodged it. Well done, Joe. Really, really well done. I know, and incredibly scary. So thinking about the foods like the apples, raw carrot and so on, what you can do is actually grate them. So being able to grate them is a really good way to so that they can do that until they're a little bit older and they can manage to have bites of your apple as well. Okay, so thank you, Joe, for sharing that. Now, if there aren't any questions, then I guess we will wrap up for the evening. Oh, okay, here we go. Heidi has a question. Do you do the courses online that you said? Yes, we do. So we have got classes face-to-face in New South Wales, Victoria and Queensland, but we have online courses that go everywhere. So we have obviously self-directed learning, where we've got a course where you do it at your own pace. And we also do live Zoom sessions as well with our paediatric nurses as well. So by all means, you can join us online or face-to-face, depending on where you live. But our mission is to reach everyone. We want every single parent and carer of kids to know what to do in an emergency. And so that's why we've got all those different ways. So jump on our website, cprkids.com.au. And the other thing is, if you want to do a face-to-face class and we're not in your area, we will help you find somebody that does, because whether it's with us, whether it's somebody else, you just need to do it, full stop. Okay. So Audrey has said, you have CPR courses for kids online. So we often have kids coming into our classes to learn. If that's what you mean, Audrey, that can kids learn, then absolutely, you absolutely can get your kids to come and learn with our nurses online. I think it's a great thing. Once they get to about the age, I reckon, of 8 and above, they can at least learn, what to do if somebody is, unconscious, calling for help, and starting CPR. Even the younger ones can still roll somebody on their side and call for help. So there's always something that we could do. So Audrey has said, if my husband is doing the thrusts or blows, how hard should he go? Okay, great question. All right. So firstly, the blows. That was pretty hard, what I was doing on this baby. Okay, don't you reckon? Pretty hard. Okay, so what we want to do is we start off a little bit softer. Okay, so we're going to start off with the first one reasonably, because remember, what you want to do is it's about winding them. You want to force that air out of the lungs. That's the opportunity. That's really what you want to do. And of course, initially you might go a little bit softer, but if that thing's not coming out, you're going to hit them pretty hard. It's likely that you will bruise them. Okay, I'll tell you a story. Okay, this will help, I think. So one of my educators a long time ago, her child they were in Woolworths together, so at the grocery store, and he picked a grape and he put it in his mouth and he turned to run because he knew he wasn't allowed to eat the grapes. And she turned around and he was there and he was blue. He already had turned blue because his airway was completely obstructed. she turned him around, and he was like 4 or 5 at the time. And so she didn't bend him over. She just leant him forward. She had one back blow, didn't come out. Harder. On the 5th back blow, she hit him pretty hard, but the grape came flying out. She hit him so hard that not only did he bruise across his back, but he also had little red spots. So she broke the superficial capillaries or blood vessels under his eyes, but he was choking. He would have died. So I know what I'd rather, a bruised child or a child who's choked. Now, obviously, if you've got a newborn, for example, for one, it's probably mucus that if anything's obstructing their airway. Newborns don't get around with grapes or whole nuts in their airways unless a sibling has put it in there. So generally, you're not going to need that big force. Generally, some gravity and some lighter back blows for a newborn. But if you've got a toddler who's got a whole grape in their airway, you've got to do what you've got to do. Okay, so yeah, so just be aware of that. So next, Sam has said, how can you introduce nuts? So it is really, really important. So I would love you to go to the website, which is Nip Allergies in the Bub. Okay, so B-U-B, not but, Nip Allergies in the Bub. It's got some really, really great resources on there about introducing foods, and particularly high allergenic foods or common allergenic foods. And one of those, of course, is nuts. So introducing nuts in cooking or as a paste and small amounts. So if you give a baby a big ball of peanut butter, then that's sticky and that's a choking risk as well. But being able to, spread a thin layer of a nut butter onto a piece of toast, for example, those sorts of things, introducing an almond meal, for example, in your baking for your child to eat. So those are the sorts of things that that you can do to introduce nuts rather than the whole nuts. But have a look at Nip Allergies in the Bub. It is a fantastic resource about introducing allergenic foods. So really, really good before the age of 12 months. Really important. Okay, so we've got a good morning from the UK. I'm really, really excited that we've got people from all over the world watching us right now. And Audrey, you are most welcome. So that looks like it is all the questions for now. It has been fantastic speaking with you all tonight. And remember, I love doing these lives. So we're streaming live to Facebook and YouTube at the moment. I would love to do whatever it is that you would like me to talk about. I'll be back on Wednesday at 10 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Saving Time, excuse me, with Dr. Deb Levy, and we will be talking about febrile seizures, and that will be on Facebook. So please come and see us there. And apart from that, put in the comments below, what do you want us to talk about? We would love to do it. Okay, I'll see you soon, everyone. Good night.